How did you come to write this book?
What really struck me was that too few books were about my people. Where are our stories? Where's our representation?
Would you give us the pleasure of reading an excerpt?
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again? If I is, Ray Ray's gonna be a real father this time around. Thank
you. Monk, your books are good, but they're not popular. Editors, they want a black book.
They have a black book. I'm black, and it's my book.
You know what I mean.
Look at what they published. Look at what they expect us to write. I just want to rub their noses in it.
The film is about a guy. He's a writer. He teaches. He's out in California. You know, he's doing reasonably well, but he's not really satisfied. He's not really satisfied with his writing career. His social life is pretty stagnant, and he's returns home to Boston for a book fair, and he also returns to see his family, which is a source of some anxiety for him and some frustration as well. At this book fair, he discovers the success of a writer named Centaur Golden, played by Issa Rae, and he becomes very quickly somewhat jealous of her success. But she writes a different type of book than his. He writes things that are fairly, abstract, intellectually a little bit obscure even, whereas she writes things really for the masses. And so he discovers her success in the midst of kind of the deterioration in some way of his family and the pressures that come onto his shoulders because of that lead him to even greater frustration, which ultimately leads him to writing a different type of novel. He writes a novel that I guess is kind of an urban novel, maybe a more populist story that he tells, which becomes a great success. Much to his chagrin, because he writes the thing under a pseudonym. But the success of that novel allows him to take care of some of his family responsibilities and things like that. But they lead to a greater and greater sense of confusion and perhaps shame for him professionally, artistically, creatively. And so that whole kind of mix of stuff just boils up in the cauldron of this film, and he's trying to survive it all.
The pharmacy? What for? She asks. You know, I says. Nah, she say. Hell nah. Girl, you be pregnant again? Might be, I tells him. And if I is, Ray Ray's gonna be a real father this time around.
Page turner, because I was like dying to understand what, okay, wait, what? And like, is he going to get found out? And all of these kinds of things. And how do you make sense of that? And what does that do? And why is it that certain versions of who we are received and celebrated and others aren't? And what does that say about where we are as a culture and as a society, really?
My initial thoughts on the script were that it was funny, and I laughed out loud, and that's very rare this day. That's the highest compliment I think you can give something, is that it makes you laugh. It happens to also make you think. That's a bonus.
As soon as I finished the script, I was like, oh, I really want to be a part of this. I could relate to so many of the conversations that occur. I thought it was really funny. Within those first 5 pages, I was invested, I was in, and simultaneously respected and was annoyed by Monk.
oh my gosh, this is perfect. I just, everything that we say in this is what people say. Nothing was forced. It was an easy script to learn. The chord is amazing.
It was so inventive and an opportunity to see Black folks in a light that you don't often get to see them in. And Cord's letter, he wrote a letter to the cast in terms of why he made this movie and how the novel Erasure spoke to him and the types of stories that he wanted to tell. And the guy can just write his ass off in terms of dialogue, in terms of structure, in terms of themes. Like, everything is fantastic. And my role's not huge, but I was like, if I can be a part of this film, that's the kind of art I want to be a part of.
It's dealing with some super relevant, super tricky, kind of age-old themes that exist both in our society and in our storytelling. But there's a deep thread of comedy running through it, and parody and irony. And I was really quite drawn to that balance.
So I play Lisa. Monk, who is played by Jeffrey, his middle sister, so older sister. I think he's the baby. And I am a Planned Parenthood doctor, an abortion doctor, which was one of the first things that actually drew me to the role, particularly with everything going on in our country. Just the mere fact that I'm playing an abortion doctor was important to me. She has the world on her shoulders. She cares for and has always cared for, like many middle children. I'm a middle child. Cares for her mother. Sort of, I think, took the brunt of her father's suicide and took the brunt of the responsibility of that, and has been carrying the burden of her family when her brothers left and went west. Her other brother being, her older brother being Cliff, who is dealing with his own stuff. Also, Lisa has just gone through a divorce. And something about the relationship between Monk and Lisa really kind of establishes who Monk is in the world. There is a real love and connection between the two of them that when she leaves early on in the script, he is propelled into the rest of the story like a slingshot.
Lee, get on the ground now! You're a fugitive! Get on the ground now!
I understand. Coraline is wonderful. That's who I play. She's a public defender. She's in a new relationship with Monk, and I think that he's open to it, especially because his life is falling away a bit and he's growing a new skin. And she is kind of an island of sanity in a world of chaos for him right now.
Santara is a successful author. Her book, We Lives in the Ghetto, is a commercial success. She has captivated audiences with this very niche voice and point of view that represents the African-American struggle. And she is the bane of Monk's existence. He doesn't understand, or he quite understands how someone like her can be successful, but feels like it's disingenuous.
Lisa, she's the one that keeps in touch with everybody. You know, I'm sure she talks to Cliff all the time. She calls Monk to see how he's doing. So she's kind of like the one that explains what's going on within the family to keep the mother and father up to date with what's happening.
I want to get out of the pool. I'm a grown-ass man. It's your girlfriend?
Yeah, you scared the shit out of her.
I'm Coraline.
How you doing, Coraline? At least she's not white again.
Oh,
Your wife is white.
My wife was a beard. Beards don't count.
Get out of the water.
Character's name is Cliff. younger brother of Monk and Lisa. He shows up after Lisa's passing away. Sort of the black sheep of the family, literally by my skin tone and figuratively as terms of how he's described in the script. He's gay. Recently came out of the closet by sleeping with another man and sort of blowing up his marriage and his family. Trying to really sort of find himself. He's a doctor, very bright, but never really been accepted by his family. An estranged relationship with his brother. And I think his main sort of function is to show his brother just how he keeps people at arm's length. And that people have been waiting to love you and to be present for you. You just have to allow yourself to be loved.
It's just a wonderful portrait of, you know, a family, you know, a black family, or a family that happens to be black in America, in a way that we don't often see. We don't see the, you know, the nature of these relationships as they're reflected in this film, I don't think, and we don't see just the you know, the complexity that is family, and the irony, and the, you know, the love, but also the frustration, and, you know, it's just it's baked together well inside this film.
Well, it's about this wonderful family of 3 children. The father was a genius of a man, but unfortunately he liked to play around, and how the wife had to accept this because she wanted to keep her family together, and she understood that he was on a different planet than a lot of fathers are when it comes to relating to his family. But in the meantime, each of the 3 children have accomplished things in their lives, which is wonderful. But of course, we never know what's going on behind that curtain. And you find out what happens with these kids as adults.
The film tackles a lot of complex issues, and it does it with humor, comedy, which is the best delivery system in the world. You know, it helps the medicine go down.
This is a film for anyone who's ever read a book, anyone who's ever been creative of any sort, anyone who has questions about the industries, in any industry's portrayal of Black talent. I think it's also a film for people who, you know, have estranged relationships with their families. I love the familial aspect of this film, and the way that Monk has to make amends with the people around him because he's kind of pushed everyone away and because he's alienated himself. And so literally anybody who's ever had an interest in or read books or has family issues or just wants to watch a good movie, this is it.
I think one of the most interesting things about the film is sort of like who gets to validate art. I find that a very sort of fascinating conversation in terms of this Black man who is very critical of this other Black woman's novel and actively eschews anything that sort of like puts him in the box of just being Black, right? But then the catch-22 is when he sees people who do things that seem that they're just for Blacks, white folks are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it drives him up the wall, dude. It drives him up the wall. I love it. And so when he actually gets a chance to be on the book review committee to sort of say like, who's gonna win this book award? And when his novel comes up, he's like, you guys can't be kidding me. And the 3 white people are like, this is the book. And the 2 Black people are like, this ain't the book. But the 3 white people win out over the 2 Black people over picking the Black author, who is him, that he hates the book. It's hysterical. And so just like who gets to legislate and validate art is a really interesting conversation in the world today, because you see things sometimes where people are going gaga, and even I myself would be like, was that good? Like, did I miss something or something? And white people are like, yes, sir. This is the voice of a generation.
My sister is played by the ridiculously funny Tracee Ellis Ross. Not only funny, but open and earnest and just, unpredictable performer. Just wonderful, wonderful time playing opposite her. And she's been at home, kind of caretaking of the mother, while I have been on the other side of the country along with my brother, played by Sterling K. Brown, who, like Tracee, my sister, is also just a stunning, stunning actor who brings unpredictability as well, and humor, but strength and just a wonderful foil to my character, who is kind of not like so warm and cozy with either of his siblings. The matriarch of our family is played by the legendary Leslie Uggams, who I have been an enormous admirer of for as long as I could remember. And she plays Agnes, who is, in her golden years, and the facilities aren't what they once were, and she's kind of seems to be drifting into early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, and so that's creating a lot of pressure for the family. The father has passed away 7 years before the start of the film by his own hand, so that again is another pressure that weighs on the family.
Jeffrey Wright is an amazing actor, let's just say that. But he's a freak of nature. He's divine. He's, performing-wise, you can't get any better. He's very generous. He's, determined in the scene to make good on the scene, but he's taking care of you too. And that's a relief. That doesn't happen every day. And to see that a person who's so good at what he does turns out to be so generous, it's like a gift, it's a bonus.
Jeffrey Wright is such an incredible, actor. I think he's one of the greatest actors of our generation, and it's intimidating to come on a movie like this and not go up against him, but characters go up against each other. And so for me, that was one of my favorite scenes to shoot. I texted my mom right afterwards and was like, I got to work with Jeffrey Wright. She was like, what? Tell me about it, call me about it. I haven't called her yet, and she keeps texting me like, you said tomorrow, and now it's yesterday, So that was one of my favorite scenes to shoot, the argument. And I also loved shooting Centaur's book reading. As soon as I read that in the script, I was cracking up, and Cord had a very, specific point of view in terms of how it was to be read, and I really enjoyed working with him to hopefully achieve that. Cord is an auteur, and with this script, it's so clear that, he had a vision in terms of even adapting this book. Hearing from him, like even with my character, that Centaura and Monk never had a face-off, and that was something that he craved in reading the original book, and to be able to add it into this script and create such a riveting scene with such a riveting conversation is a testament to his talent. And then just as a director, I just love people who have clear visions, and he seems like, he wrote the film, he has a picture of it in his head, but he's still also extremely collaborative and open to thoughts. So, I'm just proud of him for getting this one.
I loved the use of a writer to explore so much of what all of us are trying to make sense of, and maybe not all of us, but as a Black person, there's so much to navigate in terms of how society is making sense of our identity, our culture, who we are, and the appropriation of it. And I really loved that it was a story about that wasn't saying it was about that. and that you could take your own things away from it. And then, you know, you throw in a Jeffrey Wright and you're like, I like it. I like the idea of this. Mm-hmm.
Working with Tracee is just amazing because I knew Tracee when she was a little baby because I knew her mother very well. And to see the woman she's become and how talented she is, oh my goodness. As soon as I saw her, I said, I'm such a fan because she can do anything. But aside from that, she's such a sweetheart, and we laughed constantly. She's got a great sense of humor. And so it's just a pleasure to work with someone that you knew when they were little and to see how she blossomed and how good she is. With Cliff, it's the elephant in the room because the family, the mother and father, doesn't want to deal with having a son that may be gay. You know, so he hasn't been able to have his truth when it comes to mom and dad. And she's still in denial, even if she's going through her Alzheimer's. That still bothers her enough where she, you know, says to him at one point, you know, I never believed that you were gay. Where it would have been nice if she had just let it go and let him be who he was.
I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Leslie Uggams on this picture, a legend of the game. So sweet, so kind, regal, even.
In essence, it is a story about a man who is making sense of who he is outside of the context of his own family. And he's confronted by, when we meet him, he has already lost his father. And you know that there's a complexity and a tangledness to his family. And the character that I play kind of sets up everything that he's avoided. And it leaves this man having to grapple with his own personal identity and how that is matching up with how the world sees him. And he's a writer, and he writes books, and he also teaches.
I hope they laugh. I mean, you know what, I mean, people, I think we've had a really difficult time, you know, and it's hard to find a great comedy. And I think this is one that everybody will dig and see themselves in it. It's about identity, it's about family, it's about being frustrated, but also finding yourself. It's about those silly moments where you couldn't have figured that you'd be in, but there you are. It's about mother and sons, you know? It's about secrets and that type of a thing. So I'm hoping that they come for a good time, looking for a great movie to enjoy, and this is it.
He's just, you know, he's just got something in, you know, innately that has served him very well here. And obviously he's got a clear vision for this film because he adapted the novel, and he's combed through it, and he knows it. He knows every corner of it, every hidden, you know, hidden room within the script, and he's just, you know, he's been super clear about, you know, what he wants to do, and he's also been really very smart in inviting a group of creative people to the room who could help him realize the vision. Just a great, you know, a great ensemble, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera as well. So yeah, he seems to have an idea about what he's doing, you know, right out of the gate here. It's been pretty impressive. Yeah, been a great collaboration. And for me, working on these things, you can have a great script, you can have, you know, a great cast, you can have, you know, all the money in the world, but, you know, if the collaboration isn't there, if the quality of, you know, of the partnership isn't, you know, isn't top notch, you have nothing. It's all about the collaboration. And it's been a really wonderful one working on this.
How did you come to write this book?
What really struck me was that too few books were about my people. Where are our stories? Where's our representation?
Would you give us the pleasure of reading an excerpt?
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again? If I is, Ray Ray is gonna be a real father this time around. Thank you.
Monk, your books are good, but they're not popular. Editors, they want a black book.
They have a black book. I'm black, and it's my book.
You know what I mean.
Look at what they published. Look at what they expect us to write. I just want to rub their noses in it.
I'd be standing outside in the night.
Deadbeat dads, rappers, crack. You said you wanted black stuff. That's black, right?
I see what you're doing. We sold your book.
No.
We believe Mr. Lee has written a bestseller.
It's a joke. The most lucrative joke you've ever told.
Now, is Stag a pseudonym?
Yeah.
Mr. Lee can't use his real name.
Is this based on your actual life?
Yeah, you think some bitch-ass college boy can come up with that shit?
No, I don't.
Can I ask what you were in for? Was it murder?
You said that, not me.
They ran 300,000 copies.
Your books change people's lives.
They're offering $4 million for the movie rights.
Yes!
The dumber I behave, the richer I get.
This has gone too far.
Stag Arley is still on the run from authorities.
You haven't done anything. It's not like they can arrest you.
Wish I could go back to not selling books.
Is it bad to cater to people's tastes?
People want to love you, Monk. You should let them love all of you.
There's already so much buzz because of the movie deal.
Michael B. Jordan is circling.
We want to put him on the cover in one of those scarves, I guess you would call them, tied around his head.
A do-rag?
Do-rag, that's it. Do-rag and a tank top with the muscles showing.
Somebody call the fire department.
We're thinking we can get it out in time for Juneteenth.